Oh, the back and forth is harrowing. The Terrebonne Street bike path. It doesn't stop. On the one hand, we've had the borough mayor, Graça Maria Cadawa, on to talk about the situation. We've had Sue Montgomery. We've had citizens groups that have reacted against this. And now I'm joined by the councillor for Côte-des-Neiges, NDG, who has been following this very closely, this issue about the Terrebonne bike path, Sonny Moroz. Thank you for coming in.
My pleasure. Happy summer.
Happy summer. The idea here is to ask what, first of all, there was a big citizens meeting this weekend, correct?
That's right.
And I heard what was the number? I mean, it was,
Matthew from the Gazette reported 130, but I think in and out it was about 200. And it was the second meeting at St. Monica's Church of this kind, where we mobilize people, make sure they understand what's going on, answer any questions they might have, and talk about next steps. And, it's a little bit of a consultation, but because the borough didn't really do a consultation.
Well, that's the thing. So, to be fair, I've had the borough mayor on. I've had the previous borough mayor on, Sue Montgomery. And both say, okay, we've consulted. We're willing to meet. When you're talking about schools, you're talking about access. There's these whole issues about seniors not having access, disabled children not being able to have access. I guess my question to you is everybody staying in their corner and nothing is moving, or is there actual movement on this? Because I've been talking about this for weeks now, and everybody's telling me, yes, we can talk, yes, we can exchange, let's sit down. The mayor said she would sit down with the Mackay Center. She would sit down with anybody that needed to be sat down with. So what's going on?
It's a little bit of politicking. And I'm involved in this because I represent Côte-des-Neiges NDG, not necessarily the area that's directly impacted by Terrebonne, but my residents will use that throughway and they go into NDG like anybody else in the West End. I've listened to the interviews with the previous mayor, the current mayor, and they keep giving this timeline of 5 years. And this is the second version. We've learned our lessons. Yes. But they've come back with a very similar project. You mentioned the institutions, the education, the four schools, the church, the HLM Terrebonne, which is right there. There is a lack of foresight and planning involved in the current proposition. If you go on Terrebonne right now, it is not clear. I've been there 4 times over the last 2 weeks, and I've seen dozens of cars going the wrong way. So that needs to be clarified immediately, okay? And we need people to take pictures, post them on social media, show the lived experience of people on that street. That's very important moving forward, because there are going to be politicians who tell us that it's a perfect project. I've heard that multiple times, that it's a perfect project, and yet what's going to happen with the nurses who have to come in and out to service people at the HLM Terrebonne? What's going to happen to the people who have to bring their kids at the Mackay School that used to have their buses parked right in front of their school, that now it's planned to be on Benny? So in the winter, they're going to have to cross the street with people who used to just go inside. They've been giving misinformation about the number of parking spots available to visitors. They said there's 52 parking spots in the Mackay Center. I listened to that interview. Those are taken up by staff who help kids with disabilities. And not to mention St. Monica's Church, which is a staple in the community, which last time they put this down, protests from Father Ray really made Peter McQueen, the city council for NDG, rethink why he's doing this. And this time, I got to tell you, how do you explain that they lost $10,000? They had a movie booked the same week that the bike lane was going to put down, and they lost that $10,000. And the only solution given to them for not being able to have things like funerals and weddings in those spaces that the bike takes up is to redo their driveway next door. That cost how much? About $10,000. So it's a lack of planning. These gatherings on Saturdays at St. Monica's Church is a place to a little bit of vent, to hear new stories. A teacher who's responsible for the pickup and drop off at Willington for the last 17 years was there, and she was told that the solution of what's going to come up for these elementary school kids and drop off time is going to happen when we prepare for things 5 days before classes in August. So she was there in a cri de coeur telling people, if you guys can do anything in your mobilization, make the schools and the borough consider the plan of action before 5 days before school starts. So there's a lot of activity happening in NDG.
So hundreds of citizens coming together, putting pressure. I mean, this Plante administration and Projet Montreal administration keeps saying, they want to consult, they want to listen, they want to hear. And when I asked Mayor Katawa about all this, she said, well, if you ask me to choose about this or safety, I'm always going to choose safety. She keeps saying this is a safety issue. What do you and these residents have to say that apparently this is about pedestrian safety, this is about cyclist safety?
So this is where the plans in place show that any kind of improvement for infrastructure, like taking away the parking 5 meters away from the corner, that's a new measure in Quebec, that helps with sightlines, especially on Terrebonne, where one of the biggest problems is people have to jut out, right? They had a stop sign on the streets that go parallel, they now have to jut out still to be able to see people coming down the bike lane. That doesn't necessarily fix it. So because of so many other problems related to accessibility when it comes to seniors, when it comes to the institutions, I've always had concerns that they haven't necessarily taken the right steps to ensure safety for all. I'm concerned about pickup and drop-off time in front of schools. I'm worried that a one-way street where the behavior hasn't been adjusted yet is going to cause problem for parents, for kids, and the idea that everyone's going to use their bike to now enter those institutions. I don't think nurses are all going to start biking to the HLM Terrebonne. I don't think all the people who have to come across with their expertise from around Montreal to be able to service the kids at the Mackay Center are going to be able to reach the Mackay Center via bike.
Well, especially in the winter.
I don't even want to get into winter because the study that they used didn't even go into it. The days that they looked at the circulation and the parking situation on Terrebonne and around it were all in the fall. So we're going to find out in 2024, 2025 how bad the circulation will be. But I don't know what to tell you. I'm not against the bike pass. I'm not against improving. I just think there's a better version of this project.
What would be the better version? What would be the solution here?
Well, that's why I wanted to get in the nitty-gritty. The committee that Peter McQueen and Projet Montreal put in place before the last election had people for and against, had a nuanced set of recommendations, and they took the most narrow one that they wanted to apply, which was turning the street into a one-way street and putting a bike path on both sides, which removed 300 parking spots. 64% is now gone of parking. So those are people who are impacted.
Next council meeting is when? You're taking a break during the summer, I imagine?
Well, something that I often bring up in Côte-des-Neiges NDG, it's been brought up here before, is we don't sit in January or August. That's a new measure that was put in place by Sue Montgomery to remove 2 city council dates.
So you won't be able to...
I want to sit in August. I want to sit in August.
So
I want
be able to
building permits to go forward in August.
You won't be to confront the mayor until September. Is that it?
I have social media, and I have an opportunity to speak on the radio, and I have an opportunity to call and speak to people, and the next council meeting's in September. But there'll be a lot of activity before that because school starts in August. So unfortunately, I don't see the borough taking any of these problems that we're seeing for accessibility, for fluidity, for safety for all users. Go on Terrebonne. Go on it and see if you feel safe as a driver, a pedestrian, and a cyclist. I don't believe they chose the best version of the project, and I'm not an expert, but the residents directly impacted are and should be listened to, and in this case,
that's all the time I have, Sonny. Thank you so much for coming in this morning.
Don't forget to download the iHeartRadio app.
Download it today. Thank you, Sonny. Appreciate your time. He is an Ensemble Montréal Opposition Côte-des-Neiges NDG City Councillor.